Hello, dear friend. Here is Mr. Z, your math coach. Today, we will cover an interesting topic, infusion rate. We will do this by strict application of formula. And one day, most likely when we have a chance, we will do dimension analysis. Dimension analysis is the wonderful thing. This is a best approach on how to solve any exercise because you do not need to memorize formula. But when we have a chance, we will go over. So today we're gonna spend the time go over a basic infusion rate, how to solve question regarding infusion rate or drip rate. And the basic one, this is what we're going to focus on. So go ahead and get yourself something to drink, get yourself water, or get yourself some coffee, and relax because we're going to go over infusion rate and a drip rate. Now, the goal for this session is at the end of the session, you got to be able, number one, to identify which one is infusion rate, which one is a drip rate. You got to be able to solve any question, the basic one related to infusion rate. You gotta be able to solve question regarding a drop per minute. So you gotta be able to understand what is the difference between infusion rate and drip rate as well. All right. So sometimes you can get sick for some reason or the other. You're not drinking enough water, or you went through surgery. They're supposed to push a fluid through your IV. Now they have to get either normal saline or different kind of a solution to go through your IV, as long as that is compatible with your blood. Now, sometimes you're gonna use a machine. You're gonna use a pump to push this medication, and you just set up your pump, put your stuff, and the pump will do the job. But there will be a time you don't have a pump, or the pump is not working, or you go work in a different part of the world where they do not have an IV pump. So you have to manually push that IV. So this is what we call push the medication through gravity. You have to figure out what is the drip rate for you to be able to identify how many drip rate that will go through the chamber for you to be able to identify how long it's going to take that infusion rate. So sometimes you want to use an IV pump to administer medication through IV or fluid. Or if you don't have a pump, sometimes you can have a flow rate. You can have give that medication, push that medication through gravity because you do not have a pump. Some company, they use a dial flow, and dial flow you can easily go and turn to the preset flow rate to administer the medication. All right, so which one is infusion rate? Infusion rate is the speed at which a liquid is delivered intravenously. So if you're gonna give 1,000 liquid, 1,000 milliliter of normal saline, like you have a bag that is hanging right there, if you have to administer 1,000 milliliter of normal saline, and if you have to run only for 10 hours, so we need to identify what will be the infusion rate. So the infusion rate is gonna be 100 milliliter per hour. So it means that medication right there, it will be infused at the rate of 100 milliliter per hour. So it means after each hours, you will administer, or the pump will push 100 milliliter through someone IV. So after 2 hours, it will be 200 milliliter that will go through someone IV. So in that way, after 10 hours, you will have a complete that infusion. The 100 milliliter will be infused completely, and you will not gonna have nothing remain in your bag. If they want you to hang a new bag, you're gonna go down there, grab a new bag, and put right there. So today's session, for anyone that have learned about infusion rate and forget about it, you just need to get some refresh, or someone that is in a nursing school, or anybody out there that just wanna have an idea about the infusion rate and the drip rate. All right. Now remember, anytime we talk about infusion rate, well, infusion rate it's measured by milliliter per hours, milliliter per hours, and some book they will refer to infusion rate as a dropper per minute as well. So we're gonna go over that. So some book they'll refer to flow rate as a general term, but other book where they say infusion rate, they kind of be specific on the volume per hours, volume divided by time, which is expressed by milliliter per hours, or the drop rate, which is pushing the medication through gravity. You do not have a pump, and if someone, you can solve for drop per minute, and we will go over that one. All right. Now, what is an infusion rate? We learn about it. Infusion rate refer to a speed at which a fluid, typically a medication, is administered intravenously. So whenever we have to give the medication through an IV, how long it takes, the speed at which we are giving that medication, that's where we call that infusion rate. Infusion rate is very crucial for delivering the correct dosage of medication. Now, if you have to attend a therapeutic effect, so you gotta make sure if the doctor say infuse 1,000 milliliter 1,000 milliliter over 10 hours, you need to give that at the rate of 100 milliliter per hours. So after 10 hours, that medication will finish. But if you give that too quick or too slow, it may not deliver the expected therapeutic effect. Okay? So why is important? Remember, if someone is sick, you cannot take nothing through your mouth or something like that, and you go through surgery, and we gotta make sure we keep your line open, and people can put IV on you. So accurate infusion rate ensure medication effectiveness, patient safety, and prevent complications like overdosing or underdosing. Now, we learned about it, which one is infusion rate. So it's critical whenever you administer that medication, really to monitor your patient to avoid any complication. So there are many factors that can impact infusion rate. It can be the patient condition. It can be how's the medication set up. What are we trying to accomplish? What are the clinical guidelines? What your hospital wants you to do anytime you administer a medication. You have certain medication that you have to administer them within 30 minutes. Some of them you have to give them within 10 hours. So if those you give them within 10 hours, you run that medication for 5 hours, it's not going to attend to accomplish the therapeutic effect. Okay? So now, when it comes to infusion rate, you gotta really, really pay attention, because we're gonna learn how to easily identify how you can solve, how you can know what will be the speed of the infusion. How can you do that? All right. So make sure as you start working in a nursing home, as you work in a hospital, regardless of where you be working, if you have to administer IV, you gotta really, really pay your close attention. How can we find infusion rates? All right, infusion rate, it's a volume over time. Those are the basic ones. So if they say infuse 1,000 milliliter over 10 hours, the infusion rate, it's a volume over time. All right, this is the basic one. So don't forget that one, as we're gonna start spending time to do some exercise. So infusion rate, as we learned, let me change this to different color so we can see better. All right, so infusion rate equal volume over time. All right, this volume right there must be in the milliliter. And this time right here must be in and out. This is what infusion rate we learn is the speed at which the medication is administered intravenously. All right. So just for you to remember, it's a one liter equal 1,000 milliliter. You have to remember this. You have to remember that 1 hour equal 60 minutes. It means when you have a liter, to make it to milliliter, you will have to multiply by 1,000. You need to write this thing down. 1 liter equal 1,000 milliliter. If you have 1 hour, you will have to multiply that by 60 to get to 60 minutes. Then if you have a minute to go to hour, you will have to divide that by 60. So anytime you're solving for infusion rate, volume over time, remember you are solving for milliliter per hour. Do not forget that, milliliter per hour. So whenever they ask you, solve for milliliter per hour, you know that is your infusion rate. So the volume must be in the milliliter. If the volume is not in the milliliter, you will have to convert that. Your time must be in an hour. If your time is not in an hour, you will have to convert that to hours. All right. And the easy way, if they say, let's say, infuse 100 milliliter over 30 minutes, and they want you to solve to find infusion rate milliliter per hour. All right. So you know you gotta do volume over time. Your volume is 100 milliliter. Your time is 30 minutes. But we just learned here, your time must be in an hour. If your time is in a minute, you have to convert that to hours by divide that minute by 60. But I want you to remember this, because as we're making our way to learn the most complicated infusion rate, this way of approaching minute to go to hour, it will save you big time. So anytime your time is in a minute, the only thing you have to do, the volume is on the top, which is 100 ml. Multiply that one, all right, by 60 minutes over 1 hour, 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So 60 minutes divided by 1 hour will give us 1. So you divide its volume over time. We keep the time that's given to you, which is 30 minutes right there. The way we do that, you will see this minute right there, and that minute will cancel out. Now we're just going to have 100, all right, over 1 hour. So you got 60 and 30. When you do 100 times 60, it will give you 6,000. So 100 times 60, it gives you 6,000. If you divide that by 30, then you will have, in that case, 200 ml per hour. So we're going to do more exercise, and you will get the hang of it. So do not forget, anytime you're solving for milliliter per hours. Your volume must be in the hours, and your time right there must be in the hour. If it's not the time, is not an hour, you have to convert that. Your volume must be in a milliliter. All right. Now, anytime you give your infusion rate, you gotta be very careful. You gotta make sure you check about the medication compatibility. All right. If it is not compatible, then if that medication about to give is not compatible with the IV solution of the tubing, well, you cannot do that. If someone is allergic to that medication about to give, you're not going to administer that medication. So set the infusion rate based on the prescribed dosage and the duration. If the doctor say infuse 100 milliliter over 100, let's say infuse 100 milliliter over 1 hour, so your rate of infusion is going to be 100 milliliter divided by time, which is 1 hour, which is going to be 100 milliliter per hour. So you will set your pump at 100 milliliter per hour. You're not going to say, oh, I'll give it only 200 milliliter per hour. No. So your infusion rate, you got to set that infusion based on what the doctor prescribed and the duration as well. So carefully calculate the correct dose and the concentration to prevent any error. So we will learn more about this thing. Do not forget to monitor your patient. So let's look at this exercise on your right. 1,000 milliliter IV fluid is ordered to be infused over 24 hours. So if you look at it in this exercise, let me change. If you look at that one, in this exercise, what do you see? All right. So we learn infusion rate. It's going to be what? We learn infusion rate. It's going to be volume over time. And we learn your volume must be in the milliliter and your time must be in the hours. So let's look at this. A 1,000 milliliter IV is ordered to be infused over 24 hours. So you see this right here, it's your volume. 24 hours, that is your time. So what would you do? You're going to do 1,000 over 24 hours. Remember, you're solving for milliliter per hours. It means the value of volume of milliliter divided by the value of time. That's why you have a milliliter per hour. So you do 1,000 divided by 24, you got 42 milliliter per hour. Remember, for most of places, your infusion rate must be a whole number. All right. Let's look at number 2. You have a total of 1,200 milliliter right there. So what is that? This is your volume. It's prescribed to infuse over 16 hours. What is that? This is your time. So volume over time divided by time is going to be 1,200 milliliter divided by 16 hours. You have 75 milliliter per hour. Let's look at the third exercise. A medication infusion is 800 milliliter. So what is this? There we go. This is right there. It's your volume. It's scheduled to be completed in 24 hours. So what is that? It's your time. Remember, number 3, we learn infusion rate and the duration. Set the infusion rate based on the prescribed dosage and the duration. It's critical. The doctor prescribed 800 milliliter. You need to set that based on the 800 milliliter. The doctor gives you 24 hours. You use 24 hours. So once you do that, you have a 75 milliliter per hour. So key to remember when solving for milliliter per hour. We talk about that. Your volume must be in a milliliter. Your time must be in an hours. All right. If time is in a minute, multiply the volume by 60 minutes over 1 hour, like we show you earlier, and divide by the given time in the minutes. Example, infuse 100 ml over 30 minutes. So we're going to multiply 100 milliliter over 60 minutes divided by 1. And we divide everything right there by 30 minutes. So once you do that, the minute at 60 minutes and the minute in the 30 minutes will cancel out, okay? And the answer is going to be 200 milliliter per hour. All right, so there are so many factors that can affect infusion rate. Don't forget that we learned about them. All right, so let's do some exercise. Infusion rate exercise with time expressed in an hour. It means your time of the infusion is set per hour. So what do you know? So you know for sure infusion rate equal what? Volume over time. All right, so what is your volume? 1,000 milliliter. What is the time? 24 hours. Get your calculator. Do 1,000 divided by 24. You got 41.6, but you have to round it to a whole number. So you got 41.6 milliliter per hour. Since we need to round that to the whole number, you will look right where you're supposed to stop. I'm supposed to stop right here at the whole part, 41. I look at the number come right after the decimal point. If that number is a 5 or more, we move the number that's right in front of the decimal number. So we move that number to the next one. All right, like we're looking for whole number is the number before the decimal point. So if the number after the decimal point is 4 or less, we're going to leave that as a 41. But this right here, we're going to round this to 42 milliliter per hour. Let's look at number 2. You have a 1,200 milliliter of normal saline to infuse over 16 hours. So your infusion rate equal what? There we go, 1,200 milliliter over 16 hours. So you have a 1,200 divided by 16. You have a 75 what? Milliliter per hour. Let's look at number 3. Infusion rate. It's a volume over time. Don't forget the volume must be in the milliliter. The time must be in the hour. So I have 1,800 milliliter over 24 hours. So you got 1,800 divided by 24 hours. So you have 75 milliliter per hour. Let's look at this right here. The saline is available at 500 ml, that's your volume, to be infused over 2 hours. So do this exercise before we move on. You got 30 seconds. All right, good job. So you will have an infusion rate, volume over time, which is going to be 500 milliliter over 2 hours. So you will get 250 milliliter per hour. All right, let's move on to the other one. Now here, we're going to solve infusion rate exercise with the time expressed in a minute. Same concept, but here, the time is expressed in a minute. So we need to figure out how we can solve that, right? So over there, we did exercise that was based on the time was based in an hour. Here, the time is based in a minute. All right, you gotta make sure your volume is in a milliliter. Yes, I got 800 100 milliliter to be infused over 30 minutes. Now, I'm going to show you two things. I'm going to break that this way. Two ways to solve that. But I want you to solve this the first way. The first way, it means what? As we learn, anytime I got to do infusion rate, a volume over time. Anytime my time is in the minute, but you need to convert that to hours. Pay attention. And the time is in that formula, is in the denominator. Volume is a numerator, time is your denominator. If your time is in the denominator and you have to convert that to hours, what I told you, go ahead, get your volume, which is 100 ml, divide that by 30 minutes, like you do if the time was in hours, multiply that by 60 minutes, divide by 1 hour. Don't forget this. Once you do that, this minute and that minute, it will cancel out. The only thing you're going to have is going to be 100 milliliter times 60. That gives you 6,000. And once you divide that by 30, you have what? 200 milliliter per hour. The second approach that I do not want you to do that, because it's going to work perfectly whenever your time it's a factor of is a multiple of 60. Like if you got 15, they give you 30, they give you 45, they give you 60 minutes, they give you 180. As long as you got a minute, a time that is a factor, a multiple of 60, you do good. But if they give you 31 minutes, it's not going to work because you're going to have a long division. So the second approach is to know, get your time to go from a minute to hour, you have to divide that by 60. So you got 30 minutes right there. Divide that by 60. This is how you're going to have the number of hours. So this is going to be 0.5 hours. All right. Now, you know your time is in an hour. You know infusion rate, it's a volume over time. And we learn the time must be an hour. You can just now do 100 ml divided by 0.5 hours. So once you do that, you should going to get 200 milliliter per hour. But I do not want you to do the approach number 2 because you will stuck. And when we start learning the advanced dosage calculation, infusion rate, I don't want you to stuck with that, okay? But you can do so far as long as your time is a multiple of 60, you can still do the approach number 2. Let's look at question number 2. We got 250, all right? From here, once you know how it's gonna work, just multiply by 60. You don't wanna be putting minute over hour. You can just do that quick, divide by 45. Because you already know how your unit will cancel out. 250 times 60 divided by 45. You got 3333. Your infusion rate must be a whole number. This is what I was showing you earlier. We got 3.33. Since we need to stop here at the whole number, we will look at the number that comes right after decimal. If that number is less than 5, we're going to drop everything beyond the decimal point, and we will keep only my my whole number, which is 333 milliliter per hour. All right. Next one, you got 500 over 120 minutes. All right. So you have a 500 milliliter, multiply that by 60, divide that by 120. So once you do that, 500 times 60 divided by 120, and you will get 250 milliliter per hour. Or if you want to do the approach number 2, as we learned, you convert your time 120 minutes divided by 60, you have 2 hours. Now you will get volume over time, which is 500 milliliter over 2 hours, and you will get 250 milliliter per hour. Let's look at last one. You got 150 ml to be infused over 75 minutes. So infusion rate, I have a 150 milliliter multiplied by 60. Why? Because my time is in the minute. Because you need your time to be in the hours. Because we are solving for milliliter per hours. Milliliter per hours, it means volume is in the milliliter, the time must be in hours. But right here, your time is not in the hours, your time is in the minute. We have to convert that time first to hours before we can do anything. To convert that 75 minutes to hours, we gotta multiply the top one by 60 divided by 75. And once you do that 150 times 60 divided by 75, now you will get 120 milliliter per hour. So you gotta be very careful, dear friend, because sometimes you will find your exercise asking you to solve for infusion rate, but your time is not in an hour. Remember, infusion rate milliliter per hour, volume must be in milliliter, and your time must be in an hour. Yourself, you gotta do those simple check before you can move on. If they just give you 400 milliliter per hour, you do 100 divided by 30 minutes, well, you're not gonna get the correct answer because you didn't pay attention that you are looking at milliliter per hours and your time must be an hour. So let's keep going. We got some exciting stuff waiting for us. But what happens if the volume is not in liter? If the volume is not in the milliliter, pay close attention. Let's do number 1. So you have to remember this, that 1 liter equal 1,000 milliliter. So to go from liter to milliliter, you will have to multiply by 1,000. Let's look at this exercise. We are solving a total of 1 liter of range lactate solution is prescribed to infuse over 12 hours. How many milliliter per hours? You see that? Milliliter per hours should the IV be set to? So we are looking for milliliter per hour. All right. But we talk about this infusion rate, volume over time. But we say this volume must be in the milliliter. But when you look at here, the volume is not in the milliliter, so we need to convert this to milliliter. So 1 liter, to go from liter to milliliter, you multiply by 1,000. So 1 liter equal 1,000 milliliter. Now that everything is where they're supposed to be, now we can do 1,000 milliliter over 12 hours. Your time must be in an hour. So my time is an hour check. So I do 1,000 divided by 12. So you have 83. You got 83.323, but you have to round that to a whole number. If you're struggling with rounding, you may need to check a specific video where we spoke about how to round. Let's do number 2. We got 2.5 liter to be infused over 1440 minutes. We got problem. Infusion rate, volume over time. That volume must be in the milliliter. This time must be in hours. So number one, we gotta convert that volume to milliliter. So 2.5 liter. Well, we can multiply that one by 1,000 by the conversion of 1,000 milliliter over 1 liter. All right, so because 1,000 milliliter divided by 1 liter give you 1. Once we do that, this liter and that liter will cancel out. So you got now 2.5, just multiply by 1,000 and change the unit at the end. So I have now 2,500 milliliter. This time right there, we gotta multiply the volume by 60 because we gotta convert to that one by convert minute to hours. So divide that by 1440. So you do it by 60 divided by, you got 104 milliliter per hour. All right, let's look at the next one. You got 1.8 liter. I got time. Time is correct. It gotta be in the hours. So I gotta bring that one, multiply that one by 1,000 because it's in the liter. We gotta go to milliliter. Got 1.8 times 1,000. You have now your new volume in milliliter. It's gonna be 1,800 milliliter. All right, so your infusion rate, you gotta divide it by time. Your time must be in the hours. My time is already in the hours. All right, so once you do that, you will have 100 milliliter per hour. So basically, you have to pay attention as you're working on those exercises because you have to understand the milliliter per hour. Your time must be in your time must be in the hours and your volume must be in the milliliter. Look at the last one. We got 0.1 liter and you got 30 minutes. All right. So you have to convert that 0.1 liter to milliliter by multiplying that one by 1,000. So once you do 0.1 times 1,000, you have 100 milliliter. If you want to do the second approach, I can divide 30 minutes by 60. This is how you convert a minute to hours by dividing a minute by 60. But I do not want you to do this unless your minute is a factor of, it's a multiple of 60, like 30 is. When I do 30 divided by 60, it's gonna give me 0.5 hours. So now I can apply infusion rate equal volume over time. My volume is 100 milliliter. My time is 0.5 hours. So once you do that, the answer is gonna be 200. 200 what? 200 milliliter per hour. Okay? All right. All right. Type of infusion pumps. There are so many, many infusion pumps. Some people, they can use a smarter pump that a lot of companies are using today. Some people, they have a pump, you can move that around as you're getting a medication. And some people can have a syringe pump when you can pump a volumetric pump that can infuse large quantity of medication. But dear friend, what happens if the machine is not working? What will happen? Why it will happen if the machine it's not working, dear friend? What would you do? You have to manually give the medication. You are so used to use this machine where they set it up and everything, but for some reason, you go work in a place where the machine is not working. The pump is not working. What you have to do? But that person need to get the infusion rate. You need to get the medication. But the medicine is not working. I mean, the pump is not working. What would you do? You gotta save life. You have to learn now if the pump is not available or if the pump is not working, you do not have a pump, the pump is not available, the pump is not working, you have to manually administer that medication. But this is what you're supposed to learn, how you can manually administer that medication. In that way, you're not going to have nothing. You're just going to have, you're not going to have no pump. You're just going to have your bag, and you're going to have your tubing, your IV tubing right there. You have the little drip chamber. You'll have to count how many drops is going to go into that drip chamber per minute. That's what we say drop per minute. You need to identify how many drops per minute. Once you know that, you will have to use your clamp, release that clamp so slow. In that way, you can count approximately whatever the amount of your drop per minute is. If you have 45 minutes, you have to release the clamp a little bit, very slow, so you can read your time and count right there, 45 drop per minute. So you need your drop to be a whole number. You need that little drop to go in that chamber, da, 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 and you have to manually count to 45. A lot of new generation people that may not have a chance to give the medication like that. But if you go to different places where they don't use a lot of the IV pump, they are so used to manually count those medications. But you gotta be very careful because the rate of error is so great. You know, you can make a big mistake. If instead of set the IV at a 40 drop per minute, you go put that 400 or 200, it means you are giving a medication very, very, very fast, and someone can handle with the fluid overload. Okay? So what will happen, as I say, if the pump it's not working, we have to give medication manually. This is what we call infusion of IV fluid and medication by gravity. Giving medication by gravity, it means what? Solving for drop per minute. If you do not have a pump, the pump is not working, you need to solve the medication drop per minute. It means what? Drop per minute, you need the formula, it's right there. This is what some people, they will refer to that as a drip rate. Drip rate. And some book, they'll call that as well, instead of drip rate, they'll call that as well infusion rate. But just be careful about the unit they are giving to you. So drop per minute. It's the same thing, volume over time, like we did before on the infusion rate. The only difference here, this term right there must be in a minute. On your infusion rate, it was a volume over time. The time over there was in hours. Here, drop per minute. This right there is telling you that your time must be in a minute. That volume must be in a milliliter. But now, you're not stopping down there. You have to multiply this by your drop factor. The drop factor, they will give it to you. If you don't have that, you look on your IV tubing, it's always right there around the drip chamber. They will tell you, okay, so the drop factor is 12, it's 10, it's 15, it's 20. For the adult generation, they can use either 10 or 12 or 15 or 20, depending on the pharmacy. But remember this, for the baby, for pediatric population, they use what we call a micro drip set. For the kid using a Macrodrip set, the drop factor is always going to be 60 drop in 1 ml. This is the drop factor. So it means this is something for you to memorize that, because they may not give it to you. If you have an extra that say using a Macrodrip set, and you need to have a drop factor, you know the drop factor is going to be 60. So drop per minute, it's volume divided by time, you multiply by drop factor, okay? Now, let's look at this exercise right here. If the time is expressed in an hour, you have to convert that to minute by multiplying that by 60, because 1 hour equals 60 minutes. When you're solving for drop per minute, you need your time to be in the minute. But when you're solving for milliliter per hours, you need your drop to be, you need your time to be in hours. I'll say that again. When you're solving for drop per minute, you need your time to be in a minute. If you are solving for milliliter per hours, you need your time to be in hours. Let's do this exercise. The physician ordered ampicillin 500 milligrams. Okay, that's an antibiotic. 500 milligrams once a day. Now, the same medication ampicillin is dissolved. So that medication right there is dissolved in 250 ml. So 250 ml right there, it's your volume. All right? To be infused over 2 hours, that is your time. Remember, you need to keep going. Let's say using a tubing with a drop factor of 15. So that is your drop factor. The question now is how many drops per minute? So you know you are looking at drop per minute. It's a volume. What is your volume? It's a 250 milliliter. What is your time? It's 2 hours, but you have to convert that to minute by multiplying that by 60 right here. You're not going to go multiply the top one. We stay here. We multiply. The only time we'll multiply by top whenever your time is in a minute, and we are trying to convert that to hours. But if you are not converting that to hours, you're not going to have to multiply that by 60. So I got 2 hours. So I'm going to do 2 hours times 60. All right. So we are multiplying this by your drop factor. Your drop factor is 15. All right. Here, we got 60 watt. All right. And the milliliter, this, you have a dropper. You can see a dropper in the milliliter. In 1 ml, it made that milliliter and that milliliter will cancel out. So you got 250 times 15, your drop factor, divided by 120. You have a 31.2. Since it has to be a whole number, you have a 31 drop per minute. All right. All right. So just hang there. As we say, we are here to learn. We're not here. Just a quick review and you go on your business, right? We want to make sure that you understand what we are going over. Let's do some exercise. Your drop per minute with a time that is expressed in a minute. Good. You need your time to be in the minute. So in this exercise, this patient required 2 units of red blood cell, and it's equivalent to 600 milliliter. That is your volume. The infusion should be complete over 240 minutes, and the drop factor is 15. So your drop per minute, which is a GTT, equal what? Volume over time multiplied by drop factor. So let me put the pause right here. Drop per minute, it's giving the medication by gravity. It means you do not have a pump. Milliliter per hours, you are using a IV pump. But Mr. Z, I will know this side is supposed to use a milliliter per hours, over there are supposed to use a drop per minute. It's going to be on your exercise. They will tell you what are you solving for. Like here, the question is how many drop per minute? You see that? How many drop per minute? Drop per minute, this is the formula. Drop per minute, Volume times drop factor divided by time. Your time must be in a minute. So let's see. You will have a 600 milliliter divided by 240 multiplied by 15 drop in 1 ml. So this ml and that ml will cancel out. The only thing left going to be drop in a minute. So you will do 600 times 15 divided by 240. So you got 37.5. You will round it up to 38. All right. So drop per minute. Number 2, you got 500 to be infused over 180 minutes. Your drop factor is 20. So you know you will have a volume over time multiplied by drop factor. So your volume is what? 500. Once you know this, you don't need to be putting those units all the time. Divide by time, which is 180, multiply by drop factor, which is 20. 500 times 20 divided by 180. You got 55.5. So once you round it up, you will have a 56 drop per minute. Let's look at number 3. You got 1.5 liter to be infused over 300 minutes. The drop factor is 12. We have a problem. The 1.5 liter, you got to bring this to milliliter. We learned that your volume must be in the milliliter. You will do 1.5 times 1,000. Your volume, it would be 1,500 milliliter. Your time must be in a minute. Your drop factor is there. All right. So your new thing, it will be 1,500 multiplied by drop factor, which is 12. They're always going to give to you, unless they say they are using a Macrodrip set. In that moment, you know the drop factor is going to be 60. All right, so right here, you have a 60 drop per minute. All right, let's look at vancomycin 1,000 milligram is dissolved in 500. So this right here, it's your volume right there, 500 milliliters. To be infused over 120 minutes, the drop factor is 15. So your timer must be in a minute. So your GTT, I love to repeat this formula so it can sink in. You got volume divided by time, you multiply by drop factor. Your volume must be in milliliter and your time must be in the minute. So right here, you will have a 500 multiplied by 15 divided by 120. 500 multiplied by 15 divided by 120. You have a 62.5. Once you round it out, it's going to be 63 drop per minute. This is how you solve a drop per minute when the time is expressed in the minute, okay? Now, what if the time is expressed in an hour? Same concept. Drop per minute, your time must be in a minute. If your time is in an hour, you have to convert that time to minute. So let's look at here, and your volume has to be as well in the milliliter. That's good. My volume is a milliliter. I got my drop factor over there. Why do I need a drop factor? Because I am solving for drop per minute. All right, you know drop per minute, it's a volume times drop factor divided by time. The time must be in a minute. I got 4 hours, so to convert to that by minute, you're gonna multiply this by 60. So you have now 240 minutes. So in that way, now you're gonna do what? Now you will do 500 multiplied by drop factor, which is 10, divided by 240. 500 times 10, 5,000 divided by 240. So you look around of a 21 drop per minute. Let's look at the number 2. I got 100 milliliter over there. Look at here. They say using a Macrodrip set. So when you look at this exercise, they say 100 milliliter of normal saline is ordered to infuse over 2 hours using a Macrodrip set. Calculate the rate in a drop per minute. You know that drop per minute equal volume in a milliliter, time in a minute multiplied by drop factor. But where is my drop factor in this exercise? I don't see that. But remember, we learned anytime you are using a Macrodrip, your drop factor always is going to be 60. This is something for you to remember. So now you will have now volume, which is 100. We're going to bring this time to minute times 60. You got 120 minutes. So 100 times 60, that's your drop factor for the Macrodrip set, divided by 120 minutes. So you have a 100 times 60 is a 6,000 divided by 120. You got 50 drop per minute. All right, let's look at the following one. We got 1.5 liter. You got your drop factor is 12. We got 4 hours. So bring that to minute is a 4 times 60. You have 240 minutes. So now you're going to do 1.5 multiply that one by 1,000 because you need to be, volume must be in the milliliter. So now you're going to have a 1,500 times drop factor, which is 12, divide by 240. So when you do that, 1,500 times 12 divided by 240, and you have a 75 drop per minute. Let's look at the last one. As you're reading, you see your volume is a 500 milliliter to be infused over 3 hours. Your drop factor is 15. I need my it's in a milliliter, yes. The time is an hour. The time must be in the minute white because we are looking for drop per minute. This minute right there is telling you that your time must be in a minute. Since my time is in hours, I multiply that one by 60. Now my new time, it will be 180 minutes. So now I can go ahead and do volume, which is a 500 milliliter. All right, multiply by a drop factor, which is a 15. Drop ml, divide that by your time, which is 180. You cannot divide that by 3. You will make a mistake because the time must be in the minute. 500 times 15 divided by 180. And then you got 41.666. When you round it down, you got 42 drop per minute. All right. All right, let's we almost there. Hang there. We almost there. Now, why? Sometimes you can find a drop per minute, but they give you infusion rate and they give you the drop factor. So far here, they were giving to you a volume separate, and they give you a drop factor, and they give you a time. It's not always going to be that way. Sometimes they can give you infusion rate. Infusion rate, how do I know it's infusion rate? We learn infusion rate, it's a milliliter per hours. So when I say milliliter per hours, that right there, it's my infusion rate. All right, so anytime in any exercise, they give you infusion rate in the shape of a milliliter per hour, and then they give you a drop factor. Now they ask you to find drop per minute. Don't worry about the other liquid, the quantity that you have in your problem. You will focus here to extract your volume and your time. The volume is not going to be right here on the 1500 milliliter. No, but your time, your volume is going to come from the infusion rate. It means what? 150. It's going to be your volume, and 1 hour right there, 1 hour right there, is going to be your time. So per hour, it means divided by 1 hour, per hours. So if I have 1 hours equal how many minutes? Equals 60 minutes. Your volume there is going to be 150 ml. So now I know my volume, I know my time, I can use the drop factor. So it's going to be 150 divided by the time. Remember, it's a drop per minute. Your time must be in a minute, 60, and multiply that by drop factor. And your drop factor in this case is 12. So we're going to do 150 times 12 divided by 60. You have a 30 drop per minute. Let's look at the next one. You're not going to worry about that one. You just have infusion rate, and then you got drop factor. So this right here, it's your volume, that is your time. So your infusion rate, your drop per minute, your drop per minute is going to be 1000 milliliter multiplied by drop, which is a 20 drop in 1 ml. Now divide that by your time, which is 1 hour, but it has to be in a minute, 60 minutes. Minute will cancel out. You'll have 100. I'm 20. You got 2000. 2000. You divide that by minute, which is 60 minutes, and you got 33.333. And once you do that, you will have 33 drop per minute. So let's look at here. Number 2, you know that is your drop factor. Don't worry about that one. Anytime they ask you to solve an infusion rate using, you have to solve a drop per minute with infusion rate and the drop factor. Don't worry about that quantity that is right there. You will use your infusion rate to solve that. So that right there, it's going to be 125, going to be your volume. Then we got 1 hour equal 60 minutes. So you will do 125 times 60, not times 15. That is your drop factor divided by time, which is a 16. 60 minutes. 125 times 15, and divide that by 16. So when you have a 31 drop per minute. So right there, I got volume and time. My drop factor is 18. So you will have a 75 time drop factor, which is 18, divided by 16. 75 times 18 divided by 16. So now you will have 23. It's 22.5. So once you round, you got 23. So this is how you can solve a drop per minute whenever they give you a infusion rate and drop factor. Remember, many times you will see solve for drop per minute, you got volume, and you got your time, and you got drop factor. But what if they given to you infusion rate in that exercise? But Mr. Z, how do I know that is infusion rate? When you see milliliter per hour. Milliliter per hour, that is infusion rate. So like that one, 75 milliliter per hour, 75 milliliter, it's your volume. The hour, that is your time. 1 hour, you convert that to minute, which is 60 minutes. All right. So let's We're almost at the end, but just remember, there will be a time you require to adjust the infusion rate. It will happen. If you're giving someone IV and that person will start coughing a lot, or that person is not tolerate because that person has a heart problem, you are giving medication to 200 milliliters per hour. The patient is coughing a lot. He's breathing funny. He can't breathe. The doctor may decide to lower the infusion rate. You were at 200, they can tell you now, we want you to recalculate the new infusion rate. That's where you will see, okay, how long it takes for the infusion to complete. If you were rounding 1,000 milliliter at, let's say 1,000 milliliter over 10 hours, you're going to spend, it will go 100 milliliter per hour because it's 1,000 milliliter over 10 hours. Then after the infusion start kicking, after it remained maybe 5 hours, you start at 7, it's supposed to run for 10 hours. At 12, the patient can breathe. The doctor said, we want you to reduce the time, the speed of the infusion. All right? So that's the time you have to recalculate, by knowing, okay, how many time left? What is how many time remain? So I got 5 hours more left. Then you look at how many remain, how the quantity remain in the bag. You can do based on that one. So the medication effect, the fluid balance also can have an impact on the infusion rate. But how can we find the infusion time? If they say you have to infuse 1,000 milliliter of normal saline, and that infusion has to happen at the rate of 100 ml per hour, and they want to know how long it will take for the infusion to finish. Usually they will give you infusion, they will give you the volume and the time you found the infusion rate. But what if they, instead of giving you volume and time to find the infusion rate, now they give you the infusion rate and they give you the volume, they want you now to find a time. So it's so simple. Just remember, all right, time, it's going to be what? It's going to be your volume divided by the infusion rate. So if I have to run 1,000 milliliter over 100 milliliter per hour, I need to know how long it will take for me to finish that one. Just remember, for every hours, we are infusing 1,000. After 2 hours, we will infuse 200. After 3 hours, we will infuse 300. So after 10 hours, we will infuse 100 milliliter per hour. To do that, simple, get the volume divided by infusion rate. So you're just going to do 1,000 divide that by 100. And then, you will have 10 hours to complete the infusion. So you have to be going down there, monitor your resident, check on your patient, all right? But sometimes they can ask you when you will hang the new bag. Let's say your shift starts at 7 in the morning, and the doctor wants this person to get 1,000 milliliter of normal saline 3 times a day, and you start the initial dose at 7 a.m. If that medication is running at the rate of 10 milliliter per hour, it will take 10 hours to finish. So you start your shift at 7 a.m. After 10 hours, what time is it going to be? What time is it going to be? This way you got to know how you can do your math, how you can do your subtraction. So if I start my shift right there at 7, it's going to be plus 10. It's going to be 5 p.m. At the 5 p.m., I will have now to hang the new bag, because the bag that I'm infusing now starting at 7, it will be infused completely after 10 hours. So if my shift starting at 7, but by 5 p.m., I should be ready to hang a new bag. All right, so time of the infusion, it's a volume divided by infusion rate. So how can you find the time to hang a new bag? Add the infusion time to the given time. All right, if you start your shift at 7, as I said, it will take 10 hours to complete that infusion. I'm going to get 10 hours added to 7. Then it's going to be 17, which means 5 p.m. If in this exercise, if it will take 3 hours for the infusion to be completed, and your shift started at 6 p.m., so it means you're going to add 3 hours to 6 p.m. when your shift starts. So 3 p.m., 3 hours later after your shift started, then you're going to hang the new bag, which is going to be 9 p.m. All right, so let's do some exercise here. Your infusion is ordered at 100 milliliter per hour. How long it will take to administer 1200 milliliter? Think about this. Every hours we are giving 100 milliliter. Every hours we are giving 100 milliliter. It means what? 2 hours, it will be what? 200. All right. After 3 hours, it will be what? 300. All right. So as we learn, your time of the infusion, volume divided by infusion rate. My volume is 1200 milliliter. I divide that by 100 ml per hour. You know that you will cancel out. That one you will cancel out. And then I'm going to have hours going to go on the top. And I'm going to be 1200 divided by 100. So it will take 12 hours to complete that infusion. Let's look at the second one. A medication is ordered to be infused over 4 hours. If the volume is 600 milliliter, what should be the flow rate in the milliliter per hour? So your flow rate, which is infusion rate, is going to be 600 milliliter divided by what time? By 4 hours. Why am I using 4 hours? Because it's a milliliter per hour. Your time right there must be in hours. So when you do 600 divided by 4, then you will have 150 milliliter per hour. So if the exercise was for you to find how long it's going to take for 600 milliliter to be infused at the rate of 150 ml per hour, you know it's going to be 4 hours. But how are you going to do that? Same concept. It's going to be volume over infusion rate. That's when you're going to do 600 divided by 150, and it will give you 4. All right? Let's the next one. We are looking for milliliter per hour. Same concept. Volume divided by time. So you're going to do 1500 divided by 15. It will give you 100 milliliter per hour. Let's look at this question number 4. You receive a report at 1800, which is 6 p.m. And the client IV infusion has a 200 milliliter left in the bag. The IV rate of infusion is 100 ml per hour. At what time will you hang the new bag? Remember, I have my bag right there, my IV. So it's only 200 left. I need to know, since only 200 milliliter left, how long it's going to take me to hang the new bag. So I need to find first the time of the infusion. So the time equal volume divided by infusion rate. Your volume is 200 divided by infusion rate. But I wouldn't know infusion rate. Infusion rate is milliliter per hour. Divide that by 100. And I have 2 hour. Now, I'm not done yet. The question was when I will hang the new bag. But remember, your shift start at 800, which is 6 p.m. 2 hours after, it's going to be 2000 or 8 p.m. It means what? It's at 2000 or 8 p.m. That's when I'm going to hang the new bag. All right, so let's look at this exercise right here. You started your shift at 7. Yeah, my shift starting at 7. All right. The client is receiving 1000 milliliter of normal saline IV. Good job. Is getting 1000 milliliter of normal saline IV. Now they say 200 milliliter has been infused. Now they ask you the rate of infusion is 100 ml per hour. At what time will you hang a new bag? So it's the same concept, but a little bit different. Here, this patient right there had, for you to find the time of the infusion, you need to know the quantity of the volume remain in the bag. Like on the previous example, you have a 200 milliliter left in the bag. But in this question, they are not telling you that 200 milliliter was left in the bag. They said 200 milliliter has been infused. So if here it's a 1000 milliliter bag and only 200 has been infused, only 200 has gone through your patient IV, what is the remaining balance? Just think about this. If you have a bottle of water, which is a 500 milliliter, and for some reason you drunk, right? Only 200 milliliter, how many remain in your bag? Huh? Did you say what, 500? Oh, why are you saying 500? It's not 500. You have a bottle of water, 500 milliliter. You drank 200 milliliter. How is going to remain 500? It's impossible. You got 500. You drank 200. It will remain 300 milliliter. Correct. So you have 1,000. 200 has been infused. You see, the IV is running. 200 milliliter has been infused. So what is the total milliliter remain in the bag at that time? Good job. It's only 800. So now we have identified the quantity remain in the bag, which is 800. Now we know the infusion rate is 100 milliliter per hour. So at 7 a.m., as I'm getting my report, that bag has infused 200 ml. I was not there when they started 100, 1000 milliliter. When I made it to my shift, it was a 200 ml that was already infused. It means at the moment I'm receiving that patient, it was 800 left. So I need to know when I'm going to hang the new bag. Same concept. I'm going to get my volume, which is 800. I divide that by infusion rate, which is 100. So I have 8 hours. So now my shift start at 7 a.m. I'm going to add 8 hours to that. It means if your shift starting at 7, you're going to hang 8 hours later, it's going to be 3 p.m., which is 1500 or 3 p.m. All right? All right, dear friend. So this is where we finish. But remember, before I let you go, when you're giving medication through IV, you gotta be very careful. It's not the time for you to be on the social media. It's not the time for you to be texting. It's not the time for you to be right there trying to go on the Instagram and do Those stuff that people, they will do like that. They'll go, they turn like this, they do. And they do like that. No, that's not the time. It's not the time to go on the TikTok. You see people put the phone out there, they go, they look in the back, and they go, poo, 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 poo. This is not the time. You're dealing with someone's life. Your phone, set your phone on the vibration in your pocket. Focus here. Anytime you got infusion going on, you gotta be careful. You have to monitor the infusion rate. You do not know if that was someone, either a student that going to school and want to mess up with the IV. As you go out to go deal with another patient, there it come that student try just to see, but he did not know a right thumb by mistake click a speed or a timer or a rate button. The infusion rate was going to 100 milliliter per hour. Now he increased it to 300 milliliter per hour. So you have to monitor yourself. You need to check your patient. You need to look at, okay, what time is it? Oh, it's 5 p.m. Okay, my infusion start at 4 p.m. It's going at 100 ml per hour. So you yourself, you're expecting that bed to be on the 900 mark because you start at 4 p.m. and you had 1,000. 1 hour after, since it's going to 100 milliliter per hour, you expect your bag to be at the 900 mark. But if you go check 1 hour after, the bag is in the 300, that's a problem. You gotta call your supervisor. You gotta let your supervisor, down right there, it's a med error. You gotta figure out what went wrong. Is the pump that was not working properly, or that was a student, someone, or housekeeping, someone that passed by, anybody that went there, or even if a family member that went by, and some people can do crazy stuff. They got family member, they don't want the loved one to leave. They can go out there, do crazy stuff. As you go out, and they just open the clamp, and the infusion is going that quick, they will tell you no. That's why you see now a lot of places they may have a camera in the hospital because you do not know what people can do. So monitor your patient. Check your infusion rate. All right. You need to document. Check the vital sign. Anything that happened, you need to document. Check your vital sign, or check out the person is responding to the treatment. Maybe that person was allergic to the medication, did not know. By the time he received the first 100 milliliter, now it start acting funny. The blood pressure start dropping. His heart rate start going to the roof. But if instead of you monitor your patient, you are right there on your Facebook, you are right there on your TikTok, you are right there on your Instagram, you are there on what? I don't know, many social media today. You are listening to music, all those are funny stuff. At that moment, the patient starts scratching all over. Before you know it, someone blood pressure drop drastically, and that person will die because we just find out this person was allergic to that medication she's receiving, and before you know it, she was on the anaphylactic shock, and that person will die. So be careful. You have to monitor. You have to monitor, and you have to monitor your resident. All right. So there are many errors that can happen. If you set your pump rate, you need to stop that one. If you make a mistake, you need to notify. It can happen, someone receiving the med, and that person can just move his arm and things can happen. The pump can be disconnected. How you will know if you don't monitor those stuff? You need to check the insertion of the IV. You gotta make sure there is not infiltration going on out there. All right. If someone getting a med through the chest port, you gotta make sure there's not a swelling around that person's chest. You gotta make sure that person is not showing sign of respiratory distress. You gotta pay attention to those things. You gotta monitor your pen. You gotta check your pump. We talk about that. And you learn how to calculate infusion rate or drop per minute. You need to set a correct dosage. This is the only time it can save you big time. So best practice, double check your calculation. As you go out there, double check your calculation. Double check. Stick to your policy protocol. If they say anytime you start an IV, you need to monitor that person for the first 15 minutes. You need to monitor that person every 5 minutes. You better monitor that person for the first 15 minutes every 5 minutes. And then they say for the next 45 minutes, you monitor the patient every 15 minutes. You go back every 15 minutes. And if they say, well, after 1 hour that you can monitor your patient 30 minutes, you monitor the patient. You cannot sit right there beyond your nursing station and telling people put the documentation that you have monitored the patient, but you did not. The camera is right there watching you. They know how many times you went to that room. When things happen, they may ask you, they can ask you questions. So observe, check your patient, check your pump. Make sure that you set up your pump correctly. If you do not know how to use a pump, please reach out for help. Ask for help. Let someone to train you if you do not. If you are not sure about your calculation, double check. Ask other nurse to double check with you. Because less mistake, it can happen. You can kill someone. And you do not want that to happen under your watch. All right? Once again, at the end of the day, you gotta make sure everything you do, you keep your patient safe. Checking the complication that can happen with infusion medication. It can be, as we learned, it can be fluid overload. Someone can have an allergy to that medication. You have to monitor that resident. You need to check. You need to double check. You need to double check your calculation. All right. So there we are. We are at the end of our journey. I told you at the end of this topic, you'll be able to know how to solve infusion rate. You'll be able to know how to solve a drop per minute. You will know how to solve infusion rate when the time is in an hour, because your time must be in an hour. But if your time is not in an hour, you have to convert that to hours, but multiply the top one by 60. We learn how to find your drip rate or your drop per minute. The difference, infusion rate milliliter per hours, you are using a pump, while drop per minute, you're not using a pump, you're using a gravity. Now, how you will know, are you solving for milliliter per hours or you solving for drop per minute? The exercise that you have, it will tell you milliliter per hours, ml per hours. That is your infusion rate, your volume over time. Your volume must be in the milliliter, your time must be in the hour. If your volume is not in the milliliter, you have to convert that. If your time is not in hour, you have to convert that. But we learn, if they say infuse 100 milliliter over 30 minutes, my time is 30 minutes, but I am solving for infusion rate. If you're just gonna go do 100 divided by 30, you will make a mistake. That will be a big mistake, because you are looking at milliliter per minute, but you are solving a milliliter per hours. Your time must be in an hour. Unfortunately, infuse 100 milliliter over 30 minutes, that time is not in an hour. Your time is in a minute. You have to convert 30 minutes to hours. I give you the best approach to stick with it. Anytime you have a minute at the denominator, you have to convert that to hour, multiply whatever is on the numerator by 60 and divide that by the given minute. So since I have 100 ml over 30 minutes, I'll multiply 100 by 60 divided by 30 minutes, and then I'm going to have a 200 ml per hours. We learn drop per minute. If the time is in a minute, you apply your formula straightforward, which is volume must be in a milliliter, multiplied by your drop factor divided by the time. The volume must be in a milliliter, the time must be in the minute and the drop factor. Why? Because you are solving for drop per minute. If the time is in the hours, you have to multiply that by 60. You're not going to multiply the top one by 60. No. You multiply the hour in the numerator, which is, if they say infuse, that you're going to multiply that time by 60. So you got your volume in the milliliter, multiplied by your drop factor, divided by a time that must be in the minute. If they don't give you a drop factor and they say they are using a Macrodrip set, the drop factor always going to be 60. There will be a time they can ask you to find the drop per minute, but they give you a infusion rate and the drop per minute. If the infusion rate is 175 milliliter per hour, 175 will be your volume per hour, which is 1 hour. It will be your time. Your 1 hour equals 60 minutes. We learn how can you find the time of the infusion. It's the volume they're giving to you divided by infusion rate. All right. So if you need more exercise, look at the description box. You have a link that will take you to almost 50 different kind of exercise you can practice. Remember, math, you have to do a lot of practice. Today's session was for anyone that wanted to review the infusion rate and the drip rate, the basic one, because we will be back another day where we're going to dive into the most complicated infusion rate using a simple dosage calculation formula. So please invite your friend. If you learned something, you had a friend in the nursing school that is struggling, get the link, share to that person. And I guarantee at the end, this person will no longer gonna have any confusion. Now it's time to check your knowledge. Go in the description box, click the link, is there. It's gonna take you to almost 50 exercises that you can practice. Until the next time, take care of yourself and do not forget to take care of each other. Be blessed. I will see you guys next time.